problem number 5 is actually a lot like problems 1 through 2 and 3. So we're going to skip problem 5. If you know how to prove these things, you know how to handle that one. But number 6, we're going to go through. Basically, you're supposed to find the measure of all of the angles in circles, right? So we need to use the things that we know about angle relationships. We know these markings right here mean that these lines are parallel. And it says, independently use your knowledge of angle relationships to find the missing angles in the diagram below. Number each angle and justify your solutions by referring to the concepts you've learned. So I'm going to start off with any vertical angles I automatically know. So I've got this angle right here, and it means right here this is 47 degrees too. These two are vertical angles, right? So I guess I should just go ahead and label it. It says number each angle, so I'll label this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know measure of angle 2 equals 47 degrees because of vertical angles, right? Okay, now I don't see any other right off the bat vertical angle pairs, but just looking around this with what I know, notice that this is a triangle right here. And I now know 2 angles in a triangle, 47 and 30. And I know by the triangle sum theorem that 3 angles in a triangle have to add to 180. So if I added 47 plus 30 and subtracted that from 180, then I would know that measure of angle 1 is 103 degrees. So measure of angle 1 equals 103 degrees by the triangle sum, right? Okay, so I've got that one. Now, if I'm looking at going over to this angle right here, right? This angle makes a straight line with 47 degrees, right? And we know that straight lines, they have to have a measure adding up to 180. So 47, if I take 180 minus 47, then I know that this angle has to be 133 degrees. So measure of angle 3 equals 133 degrees. That's because of the linear pair postulate, because the 2 angles in a linear pair have to add to 180 degrees. So linear pair postulate. And the same idea applies over here. If you look for linear pairs, look here, these 2 angles together make a linear pair. So I know that this measure of angle 4, it has to be, if I take 180 minus 110, that's 70 degrees right here. So measure of angle 4 equals 70 degrees, again by the linear pair postulate. Now, if I want to jump down to angles over here, I'm going to have to use this idea of the parallel lines. I'm going to have to bring in my parallel lines ideas. If you notice here, this angle and this angle, these are 2 parallel lines cut by a transversal. These are alternate interior angles. So I know 47 and 6 have to be congruent because they're alternate interior angles. So this has to be 47 degrees. So measure of angle 6 equals 47 degrees because of alternate interior angles, right? And same thing here. If you notice here, this is the parallel line cut again by a transversal. So if you look here, this angle and this angle have to be the same by alternate interior angles. So measure of angle 5 equals 110 degrees, again by alternate interior angles, right? And now the last thing we have to do is in here. Now, this isn't marked right here, but I know that this angle has to be 47 degrees in here because of vertical angles. And then by triangle sum theorem, these angles have to add to 180. So add those 2 together, subtract from 180, that gives me 53 degrees right there. So measure of angle 7 equals 53 degrees. And I had to use 2 things. I had to use vertical angles and triangle sum to do that one.